5 billion. That's how many species have existed on Earth since the beginning of time. But can you guess how many have vanished? 99.9% of them. They have gone extinct. And they all have a poster child, the dodo, the giant flightless bird that once lived in the forests of Mauritius. It became extinct about 400 years ago. But soon that could change. The dodo could walk the earth again. Scientists say they have taken a major step towards bringing this bird back. So is this really true? Or is the resurrection dream doomed to be as dead as a dodo? Here's a report.
If you ever want to look at the human race's ability to destroy things, just look at the dodo. Wait, you can't, because the bird is extinct, thanks to humans. Dodos were giant, flightless, largely defenseless, fruit-eating birds. They once lived in the forests of Mauritius. They lived without predators, until humans started killing them. The first encounter with dodos was made by Dutch sailors on the island in 1598. A century later, they were extinct. In fact, dodos became the poster child for extinction. But soon, thousands of dodos could walk the earth. They could again populate their former home, Mauritius. At least, that's what an American biotechnology company, Colossal Biosciences, is claiming. Apart from raising about $600 million since its launch, 4 years ago, the company has made a range of splashy headlines. From using mammoth DNA to create a woolly mouse, and even supposedly bringing back the dire wolves that died out about 13,000 years ago. And now, they claim to have hit another milestone. This time, it is a breakthrough in their quest to resurrect the dodo. The company has cultured specialized cells, meaning they have grown certain cells under controlled conditions. They have cultured the cells from the common pigeon. They now plan to use this technique to culture cells from the Nicobar pigeon, which is the dodo's closest living relative. They are calling this a pivotal step, which puts the company a few years away from its long-term goal of creating a living approximation of the dodo. They hope that the creation is indistinguishable from its extinct forerunner. Even if the company succeeds, even if the dodo does come back to life, will the organism really look and behave like the dodo? The bird went extinct about 400 years ago, so we don't have the complete picture to begin with. The last reliable dodo sighting came from a Dutch sailor, who described it as a kind of very big goose in the 17th century. That's nearly not enough information to go on. But the critics aren't so sure. Plus, today's world is very different from what it looked like when dodos walked the earth. So scientists know little about what diseases they could catch, or how they would reproduce. After all, genetic engineering is a nascent field, and cloned animals still go through a range of problems, such as organ defects, premature aging, immune system issues. And the living animals who are used as surrogates often go through unnecessary pain, and even death. And this is not all. About 2 million species on Earth are currently at risk of extinction. This includes animals and plants, threatened by habitat loss, rising temperatures, pollution, invasive species, and hunting. The current extinction rate is hundreds of times faster than the historic norm. And this is not only affecting the endangered species, but also us, humans. So while companies try to resurrect lost relics, spend millions of dollars doing it, and regularly fail, wouldn't it be better to focus on aiding the species that are threatened today instead? But that doesn't sound very headline-grabbing, now, does it?
Very interesting, right? I didn't know that. But we stopped the flood of illegal aliens stampeding across our borders, and for 4 months in a row, the numbers of illegals admitted into the United States is zero. It's zero. Even I find that hard to believe, but it's made up by a very liberal think tank, and I'll take it, but it's zero. It's just about zero. Hard to believe, right? If you look back a year and 2 years, there was millions of people coming across our border from mental institutions, from prisons, drug dealers, gangs, the toughest gangs anywhere in the world. They came from all over. We designated Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, which nobody else did. And we're hitting them, as you probably noticed, very hard. And we're blowing the Venezuelan narco-terrorists. We're blowing them the hell out of the water. Every time you see a boat, thousands of people die from the cargo in that boat. Thousands of people die. And then the radical left say, oh, this is not nice. Well, thousands of people are dying because of those boatloads of drugs, fentanyl and a lot of other drugs. We're restoring law.
Meanwhile, California becoming the first state in the nation to ban law enforcement officers from covering their faces in the field.
Madeline Rivera is live in Washington with the latest. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning. This comes as the Trump administration ramps up its immigration crackdown. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a number of bills to push back against the president, and one of them is that law prohibiting law enforcement officers from wearing masks while carrying out their duties. Newsom says concealing their identities allows government agents to avoid public accountability.
It's like a dystopian sci-fi movie. Unmarked cars. People in masks, people quite literally disappearing, no due process, no rights. This is a disgrace. This is an outrage, what we have allowed to happen in this country. ICE, unmasked. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
LA Mayor Karen Bass is praising the state's lawmakers.
What I'm so proud of in our city is that we have legislative resistance, we have resistance from local government and state government, and we have resistance on the streets. I look forward to the day that we no longer have to protect ourselves and fight our own government.
Trump administration officials say the masks help keep agents safe as they do their jobs. DHS says there's been a 1,000% increase in assaults against ICE agents. And then there's the question of whether Newsom's ban will survive legal muster. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin says on X, good news for Americans and public safety. ICE and DHS law enforcement are part of the federal government. We don't need to abide by this garbage. The acting U.S. attorney for Central California says something to the same extent. He says the state has no jurisdiction over the federal government and that it must go through Congress to regulate agents. So he says Newsom's new law won't have an effect on the administration's operations. Charlie, Rachel, and Griff.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks, Maddie.
So Gavin Newsom asked, what are you afraid of? Well, I'll tell you what they're afraid of. They're afraid of dying. Yeah. They're afraid of being doxxed. They're afraid of their families also being in danger. I remember interviewing Border Patrol spouses who said how afraid they were on the border. Imagine being in ICE, with the cartels and other people, going after them. Imagine being ICE. You don't have a mask. They find out through facial recognition who you are, and they come after you because it's not necessarily even the illegal immigrants. It's these radical groups that are paid for by God knows who are violent. Look at that, Antifa and other radical leftist groups. That is what they are afraid of. And by the way, Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, I mean, the gall of this woman after she allowed her city to burn, didn't prepare for fires, and now she's fighting law enforcement, taking criminals off her streets.
Yeah. To your point, Rachel, it's so important to point out in the remarks that Bass made, and Maddie didn't play that soundbite, but there was one line that stood out. She said that the federal government wants to normalize the, quote, hunting of Latinos. She is trying to create a narrative that does not exist out there.
That's
and
a
the U.S.
dangerous
attorney,
narrative.
the attorney out there in California, Bill Saley, is trying to support his law enforcement officers. But that number, by the way, of 1,000% increase in assaults, that number is way higher. I've talked to the acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons. He says it's way higher, but yet it isn't stopping his men and women from going out every day in these sanctuary cities like California, New York, Massachusetts, Illinois, and trying to remove who? Not innocent people, not people that have a right to be here, but violent, criminal, illegal aliens. And the phrase of hunting Latinos, the federal government's trying to normalize it, is just simply inaccurate.
So, I mean, I'm deeply uncomfortable with the idea of police officers wearing face masks. But this is, of course, a foreign invasion, which means puts it in a completely different category. And everything they have done is exacerbating the situation and making it worse. The reason that these ICE agents have to do it is because of exactly that kind of rhetoric. Yes. And it endangers their lives, and their families are getting doxxed because of what Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass are
Did you notice that the guys on top of the car are wearing like scarves around their faces, and so they're covered up?
Just to your point about the mask, and I understand your sentiment, Charlie, but let me just also say, and I've been on these raids. I was in the first few days of Midway Blitz in Chicago. Every ICE officer and law enforcement that I've been out with and seen in any of these arrests, they are covering their faces because there is a nationwide coordinated effort to dox them, as Rachel said, but yet they are identifiable because you see on their chest, ICE, HS.
No, estoy temblando. Estamos viendo un ovni triangular. Está parado en medio de la nada. Uy. सरिया भी गया और पूरा मकान पूरा लेंटर समेत
pierna bien. Mira. Azul. Mira. Mira cómo parpadea, hija. Sí, parpadea. Sí, detalles que parpadea. Mira, Ari. Sí. Más intenso. ¿Está detrás? ¿Qué es eso, hija?